What is up, guys? My name is Term Sequoy. Welcome to the first NHL episode that is not going to be live. I recorded the off season, it was like 40 minutes, couldn't do that. So we're going to jump right into it, and here we go. We're going straight into the NHL draft. First we're going to look at some standings, all that good stuff. The Oilers do finish in the very dead last cellar of the Pacific Division. And, well, not only were we the cellar of the Pacific, we also happen to be the cellar of the NHL. We end up tanking at the end, very last place. Chicago and Buffalo ended up doing a little better than us, though it is a three-way tie in points. But we only had 23 regulation overtime wins, so there it is. Our point leader, goal leader, and assist leader all happen to be Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. Nuge, Eberle, and Hall all with over 20 goals. Tanger ended up not doing too bad, even though he did miss the end of the season with a concussion. Sounds kind of familiar, doesn't it? Ben Scrivens, he didn't do too hot. Neither did Jake Allen, really. It's a rough situation in the goaltending area, and I'm not really sure what we're going to do, though I am looking for new goaltenders, so there is that. Hopping right into the draft, for some reason, San Jose gets the first overall pick. And I don't really think it's going to be much of a secret who they end up picking. Yep. Connor McDavid is in our division. He is a San Jose Shark. I thought we were getting McDavid. I was so hyped. Well, what do we do from here? We've got to get the next best guy. And after a lot of searching, I decided that the next best guy was not going to be Yuri Kostitsyn. Despite me liking a lot of what Kostitsyn brought to the table, instead of Kostitsyn, I go to Connor McDavid's teammate, Dylan Strome. 18-year-old guy out of Erie. Jack Eichel's in college, so we can't draft him, so it's Dylan Strome. Moving on to the second round, I know that I needed defense, and I also needed a goaltender, but defense was what I was looking for in this one. As, of course, I get to wait for these wonderful loading screens. There were still some good prospects available, but I needed to focus on the big three, and so I go to defense. And one guy that I had been eyeing was Pyrota. He was still available. I'm not sure that's how you say his name, but there isn't a lot accurately scouted out of him, but he does have a high 4-star defense already. I do like that, so we go after him. And we end up selecting him with the 31st pick. Moving on, we are now in the 4th round. We did not have a 3rd round pick, and at this point, I didn't really heavily scout this year. That's mostly my fault, obviously. But one player that I did scout and I was interested in was a goaltender. Now, this goaltender was projected to go undrafted, but between the fact that I don't trust that and the fact that I liked what I've seen out of him, I decided to go after him. So this is Zach Bowman out of Canada, a 17-year-old left glove guy, and I end up drafting him. I then simmed the rest of the draft just because I didn't really have any more prospects that I had looked into. So the draft was complete, and then we get to take a look at who I get. So Strome, Pyrota, Bowman, Emmer, Karnakov, and Spears are the guys that I end up getting through the draft. So as we move on to contract signings, I do want to take a look at these young guys that I get. So we see Dylan Strome comes out as an 61 overall. He's got some work to do, but obviously he's no Connor McDavid. I didn't really expect him to be as good as McDavid would be. We look at Spears, the last guy that I get. He's a 59 overall center, playmaker, 18. And he's, basically a lot of these guys have some work to do, but I feel like a lot of these guys could be good in the future. You got this guy. I don't even know how to go about even beginning to say his name. I accidentally skipped over Emmer, who was a 66 overall, but then there's Pyrota, the defender that I went after. He's a two-way defender. 3-star skater, 2-star defense. He's definitely got some work to do. And finally, there is the goaltender that I ended up getting. Take a look at him. There he is, Zach Bowman, a 57 overall, 17-year-old. I didn't really know what I was doing much in this draft. After Connor McDavid went, I was a little lost. Connor McDavid was the plan. So that kind of threw us off a little bit. I decided to not really show you any of the re-signs, so I just show you who we ended up signing. we end up getting Andrehoff, Carey, Anton Lander, Loktianov, Roy, and it's going to take its time going through, but Hunt, Marinson, Schultz was the big re-sign. He's got a 3.925 cap hit. He was the biggest one that ended up re-signing. Also, there's Lane, Hamilton, Miller, and Pitlick. A lot of AHL players that ended up coming through and getting re-signed, but that's okay. The next move I made was releasing Ben Scrivens. I no longer wanted Ben Scrivens on the team, so we buy out Ben Scrivens. Sorry, Ben. Looks like it's time for you to find yourself a new team, and for us to find a new backup, we're going to go forward with Jake Allen. Later on in the sim, I see Keith Ollie decides to come back. He's been a depth defender. Also, Tyler Buns, Brandon Davidson, all AHL players come back and sign through. Now we go into free agency, and here you see what we have. St. Louis, Richards, Glenn Cross, Ian White, Tim Gleason, Petrie, Lee Stempniak, Andre Mazzaros, Dustin Penner, Richardson. The free agency pool isn't really deep, and it's all a lot of older guys. Stuff that I'm not really interested in. Barrett Jackman, Jamie McBain, Ian Cole, one guy that I'd be interested in, but he's a restricted free agent. Ryan Whitney. There just isn't much going on, and look at the goalies, it's not much better. Ben Scrivens is the best player. Then there's Thomas Vokoun, Tim Thomas. I don't know what Tim Thomas is even doing in the NHL right now. But the first thing we do is we go out and find a backup goaltender, and I find Keith Kincaid, the 25-year-old. He probably doesn't have much left in the tank in terms of potential. He probably will be a 76 overall for the majority of his career. But I decided to take a risk on this guy. He seemed like someone that would offer a good backup ability. I just signed him to a 1-year contract. Nothing too fancy. And there's one guy. Next guy I look after is Eric Fair. He wants 2 years. I decided to offer him 3 years. Eric Fair is that gritty third line guy who can still score. That kind of player that I've been looking for on the team. And I feel Eric Fair fits that role perfectly. So it's a $2.15 million cap hit for 3 years. That's not too bad for a player such as Eric Fair. So I decided to go ahead and get him. That will really add a lot of grit, that depth, and still score. He can still score when he needs to. So I feel like this is a really good bargain buy for our team. And past that, I just go try to find some young, high potential guys to sort of fill in the depth into our AHL. So I go out and get some Oscar Lindblom. All of these players I've never heard of. They're all faceless in the game, but they're free agents. They're young guys. They have, high-end potential. They're 1967 overall, medium top 4 AHL defense. I'm just trying to take in some low-risk chances on these guys. The way I see it, when I'm offering them a 2-year, $5.5 million or $0.55 million, I'm not really losing out on anything with that. And if they happen to become good, I gain a lot. So low risk, high reward sort of signings with those guys. And we sign, then we go with a right winger, Walmark. We end up offering him a 2-year deal. And now as we're simming through, we get one more, Dupertitis. He's got himself quite the name. A 2-way defender. We'll offer him a contract. Once again, this one's going to be for 3 years. Can't really complain there for a 19-year-old. I got a lot of young guys. So now we see Lindblom accepted. There's one of the youngsters I was looking at. So that was easy enough for him. On top of Lindblom, let's see who else we get. We get England to come. So another one of those young guys that I was looking at. This one a defender. We got Lucas Walmark, the right winger, to come. So far, so good for the free agents. Joey Dupertuis, that guy, he's coming to Edmonton. He'll be in the AHL, simulating a little farther forward. And here we go. Eric Fair has accepted. This is the biggest free agent signing for us this year. Eric Fair is coming to the Oilers. Sorry, Eric, but hopefully you can try to turn this team around. We need some gritty players like you, some veterans, try to turn this team into a freaking contender. And then we got Keith Kincaid, who will be our backup this year. It'll be interesting seeing what he can do. As we move forward, nothing really special happening, but Pyarby decided to come back. We tendered him as an RFA. Nobody signed him. He's going to be in the minors this year. He had a big decline from an 83 to now an 80. Not really sure what's going on with Pyarby. Looking at our lines for the year, we've got Hall, Nuge, Eberle, Perron, Locktiana, Pouliot, Lander, Gordon, Fair, and Hendricks, Andrehoff, and Pitlick. So not too much other than we're seeing Lander coming up. We're going over to defense real quick. We have Schultz and Tanger, Clefbaum and Marinson, the two youngsters from last year getting a little better, and then Ferentz and Keaton on the third line. That's a defensive shutdown sort of pairing. And then finally, for goaltender, we have Jake Allen and Kincaid. We're trusting Jake Allen this year. Will that be a mistake? We'll see. Sorry for the short video, guys, but that was our offseason wrapped up as good as I can. We started off the season against the LA Kings. God help us. My name is Sir MC Coy. This is the Edmonton Oilers franchise. Subscribe, like, and get ready as we kick off Season 2 against the LA Kings.